Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Fletcher Ellingson. He's a speaker, coach, author of the best-selling book, The Practice of Feeling Good. And using a combination of science and psychology, he helps his clients break free from financial struggle, overwhelm, and persistent worry so they can spend more time doing what they love. Welcome to the show, Fletcher.
Hey, thank you for having me, AJ. Appreciate it.
Welcome to the show, Fletcher. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll be talking about mastering the practice of feeling good. So, Fletcher, I want to understand you talk about the practice of feeling good. So, what is this, feeling good about? Help us understand. Some people feel good when they have a bit of alcohol. Some people feel good when they have a bit of good food. And so many other people feel good whenever they do something they love. But what is it? Are you talking the same thing or it is something different?
Sure. So it's a little bit different. Yes, it does feel great to have some good food or good company. But would you agree, AJ, that a lot of people in our world are practiced at not feeling good? They're practiced at feeling insecure. They're practiced at feeling anxious. They're practiced at feeling worried or stressed out or upset, irritated, frustrated. A lot of men specifically are very practiced at feeling angry and frustrated. I don't know about in your country, but in our country, boy, men deal with a lot of frustration and anger. It's two of their go-to emotions. Or a lot of people are practiced at feeling disappointed or depressed. And what I want your listeners to understand is that we're very practiced at that. You've heard the expression probably, or the saying that it takes about 10,000 hours to become a master at something. Well, most of us have 10,000 hours practiced at not feeling good. And so what I want to encourage people to do is just to consider that we can actually practice feeling good, and we can feel good on demand. And when I say feeling good, AJ, I don't mean just happy. In fact, I don't even use that word very often. But what I do mean is to feel good means to feel secure, to feel connected, to feel optimistic, enthusiastic, or eager, or courageous. All of those types of things fall underneath the umbrella of feeling good.
Wonderful, wonderful. So before before talking about the practice of feeling good, Fletcher, did you were you always like this, or you had to also fight this and understand this in your own manner? Tell us a bit about your journey, and then we'll come back to this feeling good thing.
Yeah, you bet. I was fortunate to have a mother who was extremely kind. And when she passed in 2017, that's one of the things that so many of her friends and family said, your mother was so kind. And so I did have that modeled for me. I had kindness and compassion modeled for me. However, so that was a foundation for me. However, I did have a lot of worry and stress. I did have a lot of thinking that life isn't the way it should be, which is a dangerous trap to fall into. And so in my adult years, I had to begin to practice feeling good because I was very practiced at feeling stressed and worried and anxious. And so, until you realize that those are your default ways of being, you really can't do anything about it. And so I began to, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. And one of the things, as you know, being an entrepreneur, you wear a lot of hats, and that can cause a lot of stress and worry. And that began taking a toll on me, and it didn't feel good. And AJ, probably the number one thing that people want in life, the number one thing is they want to feel good, right? That's why we eat yummy food, right? That's why some people, drink alcohol. It's why we get into a marriage. We get into a marriage because we think it's going to feel good. We have children because we want to feel good. We're always looking to feel good. However, we're usually looking for external things to make us feel good. And what I want your listeners to understand is that we can feel good right now on demand. We have the capacity and ability to engage our mind in a story, a feel good story. And that feel good story, whatever you focus on, you feel what that feel good story literally causes your brain to create a chemical reaction called an emotion that courses through the body, and you feel good, and it doesn't matter what's happening on the outside world. Now, certainly that sounds easy. It's not easy, right? And that's why I say it's all about the practice.
Absolutely, it's all about the practice. You make it sound very believable to feel good right now. You are a professional magician too. So for many, it will be like a magic, but I'm sure this is not magic. This is reality. So let's understand these things. Means how can
Yes.
you? What is the way to get started to feel good right now? What's the trick to this?
Yeah, thank you for asking that excellent question. How do we feel good on demand? When we realize, okay, so when you watch a movie, AJ, when you go watch a television program, a movie or something, in that 2 hour movie, you can have a roller coaster of emotions. You can feel sad, you can feel happy, you can feel excited, you can feel fearful, right? You can feel enthusiastic. And all you're doing is watching light on a screen. That's all that's happening. But you see, the brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not real. All it all it knows is that you're focused on this story, and the brain it has no choice. It must create a chemical reaction called an emotion to align with what you're focused on. So if we take that premise that and take it outside of the movie theater and begin to focus on stories that feel good. Like, for instance, some people's story about life is that life sucks, that life sucks and then you die, right? Um, what if your story about life is life's always working out for my greatest evolution? How about life is a gift? How about life is an opportunity? How about life is an adventure, right? If that's your story that you're focused on, your brain again has no choice. It must create an emotion that aligns with the story. So instead of thinking, "Oh, my spouse is always nagging me or getting on my case," how about my spouse cares about me? They're looking out for my best interest. They want what's in my best interest. I'm so grateful that I have somebody in my life that cares about me, right? So your question was, how do we begin to do this? We begin doing it by bringing an empowering story to any situation. And then the second thing, AJ, is one of my favorites. We go to gratitude. We practice gratitude, because gratitude is the acknowledgement and appreciation of something for which we cannot take credit. And that's the important part, because we humans, we love to take credit for everything. Hey, that I did that. That's mine. Did you see that? Right? No. Gratitude is the appreciation and acknowledgement of something good that we cannot take credit for, like the sunrise, like the sunset, right? Like the fact that my blood is coursing through my body and my lungs are breathing for me. I don't have to do anything. I can be grateful for my health. I can be grateful for the nature that I see outside. And when we focus on that which we are grateful for, we immediately feel good. And that feeling good are real chemicals in the body, right? That's the serotonin, it's the oxytocin, it's the dopamine. These are real chemicals, and we can learn how to use them instead of them using us.
Right, right, Fletcher. Now, a lot of uh, times, when we create things like this, feelings like this, of positivity or forced positivity sometimes,
Yes.
how do we deal with the reality part? Is it that sometimes you may move away from reality? It's like burying your head in the sand and you forget about those things that you need to actually tackle on the ground, because that is what is going to change your reality. and not just telling a story to your mind for temporary reason, because you have to wake up, you have to open your eyes and see where you are.
Yes. So great question. And I totally appreciate what you're saying. About 7 or 8 years ago, I lost a business that a very successful large business that I had helped create. I'd spent 15 years creating this business. And then it kind of crumbled. And it was very, very upsetting. And it was very ugly. There was some not so nice things happening behind the scenes. And this business meant a lot to me. It provided a great income for me, but not only that, I had helped create it. I was proud of it. And then to see it crumble was extremely disheartening. And so what I had to do, and I simply had to, one day I was like, I'm walking away from this. I'm cutting my losses. I'm going to be losing a lot of money. Right. So it was very distressing. And I was faced with what you were just talking about. How do I feel good? How do I stay positive or optimistic or empowered? How do I stay empowered in the face of this very, very upsetting thing that just happened? And what it came back to is this: what story will I bring to this? And so the story that I brought to it is this. This business had served me well for 15 years, and now it's the end of an era. I'm perfectly poised for what is next. There is something greater ahead for me. There is something where I'm going to make a larger impact. There is something, I'm grateful for the opportunity to rebuild myself, to evolve to that next level of myself. Now, did I have to practice that story? Yes, I had to practice the story over and over and over again. And then I began to feel it. And when you begin to feel it, you begin to act out of those feelings. And what happened was I began building my next business. And that business is my favorite business. It's what I'm doing today. And it has allowed me to write a best-selling book. It has allowed me to connect with people all over the world like yourself, right? I'm doing what I love, and I wouldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it had I not gone through that very upsetting time.
Wonderfully explained, Fletcher. So let's understand it a bit. We'll come to the book also for sure. Keep a copy with you if you have one, so that you can show it on the screen for the audience, so that they know this is the book that they need to get for themselves. Fletcher, I want to understand. You talked about, that the practice of feeling good. Why do people practice, negative things?
Yeah.
From negative to positive is good to understand, but
Yes.
why do people don't see the positive? They move towards the negative and
Yeah.
everything that is associated.
Okay, great question. Thank you for asking that. The answer that I have for you, AJ, is that our brains are like, so I've got my iPhone right here, right? Now, and this iPhone, if I open it up, it has all sorts of applications on there. And those applications are designed to do very, very specific things. They are programs running on this operating system. I want to invite your audience to consider that our brain is very, very similar to this piece of technology. Since we came into this world, since the day we were born, our brain began to program itself. And it can only program itself with that which we come into contact with. It is programmed based on the experiences that we have. So if our family is if our parents are negative, if our friends are negative, that programs our brain, and we simply don't have a choice. It becomes a practice at thinking negatively. And so it happens without our permission, consent, or approval. And this is really important for your listeners to hear. The programming of our brain at early ages happens without our permission, consent, or approval. And so now we're adults. And so now we can get curious. Oh, does this programming serve me? Does it serve my life? And if it serves your life, wonderful. But if it doesn't, I want to let you know that there are things you can do even at this age. Even I'm 55 years old, AJ. I can still program my brain. Now, it takes intention. It takes practice. It takes deliberation. But it is absolutely possible. In fact, I'll use this phone one more time, because before iPhones were around, we didn't know what they could do. And when they came into existence, remember when you first got your iPhone, you like had to learn how to use it, right? It was like, oh, how do I do this? Oh, what does this button do? Oh, how do I get back to the home screen? You didn't know how to do that, but you programmed your brain to learn how to use this kind of technology. It's the same thing. We can still program our brain. And I invite your listeners to consider this question. If I can program my brain, then what and how would I like to program it for? And that is an exciting question.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's understand more from your book, The Practice of Feeling Good. How did this idea come to your mind about this book, Fletcher? And then, what is this book all about? We have talked some of it, but I just want to know what is it in the book, and who is this book for?
Yeah, this book is for anybody who is realizing that they're going through life with a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry, right? A lot of stress, and those ways of being stressful, worried, and anxious, they bleed into the other areas of our life. Would you agree that they impact our marriages and our work, right, and our relationships? And so we start acting out of those ways of being, and they don't serve us. So this book, The Practice of Feeling Good, it is a step-by-step guide on how to reprogram your brain. And if you can successfully reprogram your brain, and anybody can do this, if you can successfully reprogram your brain, the outcomes that you're going to experience are going to be radically different. So when I work with my clients, what I'm actually helping them do is change the way they think. Like literally change the way they think. Begin thinking thoughts that they've never thought before. And an example of that is like, oh gosh, things never work out for me. Or gosh, I could never have that amount of money. Or I could never create that level of business. So those are some thoughts that they have. We bring in new thinking that they actually begin to believe, that says, oh, life's always working out for my greatest evolution. Oh, they've created that business. That means I can do it too. Oh, I can create the marriage of my dreams or the relationship of my dreams. I can have feel good health and fitness. And these are not just words, they become programs. And the reason I call it the practice of feeling good, AJ, is because so many of my clients come to me and they say, Fletcher, I just want to feel good in my life. I'm depressed. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling challenged. I want to feel good. And at the end of the day, it's not the money that they want. They just want the money because having money they think is going to help them feel good. Well, if we can feel good now on demand, then imagine what we can create from that place of feeling good. It's really exciting.
Absolutely, absolutely, Fletcher. Now, I want to understand in terms of, a lot of people talk about, resentment. A lot of people think, that life is slipping by.
Yes.
And then it fills them with resentment for those who have got a few things early on,
Yes.
especially when they are very capable people. But then the world moves very differently for each person. That slips off their mind.
Yes.
How do you tell them should they look at their own life, remove the resentment, and wait for their own time to come? How do we actually do that? Before that, how can they start feeling good about themselves and wait for the time that maybe in the future may or may not be? Nobody knows.
I love that question. Thank you. Such a good question. And my answer to that is, this is how we deal with resentment. Because resentment is really disguised judgment, right? Resentment is disguised judgment. And what we're judging somebody, and the thought process that we're having is they shouldn't have done that. They should be other than they are. Now, we can see what we're actually doing is arguing with reality. We're breaking from reality. The fact is, they did do that. They did say that. That is how they are. But we are resenting we're resisting reality. So again, the practice of feeling good is about bringing an empowering story to any situation. So what story could we bring to that situation? The story is, oh, that person is actually doing the best that they can given their own programming, given all their experience, given their level of education, given their level of money, financial success, given the level of connection that they have in their family. They're doing the best they can with the tools they have. Now, some people say, "Oh, Fletcher, no. Those people should be driving much better than they're driving, or those people did something illegal." I know it. Just because some people's best may not look very good, it may be even illegal, but it's still the best they're doing in light of all their situations. And when we realize that, what can then occur is this thing called understanding and compassion. And when we have compassion, resentment melts away. And that's how we deal with resentment.
Right. So let's deal with another word, starting with R, that is rejection. A lot of times now, rejection is a part of life. You get a call from a salesperson, you say no, that the salesperson is rejected or their product is rejected. In life, we have rejections every day. Why do we still make so much of issue out of this word called rejection? Why do we take it so personally that it can make or break us?
Yes. Another good question. Thank you. So again, it all comes down to the story that we're telling us. And I've got plenty of experience with rejection. In another call, perhaps I can share with you the year-long rejection experiment I did, where I intentionally was putting myself into positions to get told no, to be rejected. Because, AJ, I wanted to learn how to become a master asker. I wanted to learn how to be able to be with rejection. And what I ultimately learned from that year of experimenting with rejection is that the story that I had been telling myself was they were rejecting me, that there was something wrong with me, that they didn't like something about me. When in truth, AJ, all they were rejecting, all they were saying no to was my offer. That was it. So the new empowering story that I brought forth was, oh, they're only rejecting my offer. So that provided an opportunity for me. How can I make my offer better? Or how can I become more articulate and talk to their needs at a deeper level? Or every time part of the other empowering story was every time I get rejected, I become stronger, wiser, and more curious, and therefore poised to do better the next time.
Right, Fletcher. Let's talk about now fear.
Yeah.
Fear is a part of us. We are born with it. It is there for a reason. But we fear itself so much that we are never be able to get past it. And before that, it's like a dark room. It is a dark room. It's a fact. But we are so fearful of that, dark room in itself that we never venture to go into that room. And that is, it can have so many opportunities. That's the same with life. How do we deal with fear? You are also a human like me. I'm sure you have dealt your own fears in your own way. How do people who have fear so much, they deal with it?
Yes. Okay. So this is a great conversation. And yes, I have had so much fear in my life, AJ, so much fear that it held me back for much of my life. It held me back in certain areas. It held me back financially, relationally, spiritually. It held me back in so many ways. But as I began to deal with my fear, I realized, I asked myself this question: what is at the core of fear? What is at the very center of fear? And the answer that I got back, AJ, was a story. At the center of fear is simply a story. Now, that story may be accurate, but most of the time, it is completely inaccurate. It is completely false. It's what Wayne Dyer referred to as false evidence appearing real. So we have a story. The story is they're going to reject me. The story is they may not like me. The story is I might fail. The story is I don't have what it takes, right? The story is I might lose everything. And so there's a wonderful gift in fear. Now, fear doesn't feel good, but there is a beautiful gift that travels with fear. And so I want your listeners to hear this. When you're feeling fearful, what I want you to know is that if fear is present, it always travels with a gift. And that gift is the opportunity to step into courage. Because the only time that you can be courageous in life is when fear is present. And AJ, how good does it feel to feel courageous, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it is a wonderful feeling to feel courageous. When we go to a movie and we see the protagonist who has been beaten down or been bullied and has been fearful, when we see him step up and step into courage, we want to stand up and cheer, right? We love to see courageous people. We applaud their courage. And here's what's interesting. At the very center of courage is simply another story. And it's a story that says, I do have what it takes. I am worth it. I do have people that care for me. I can do it. I'm worth it. And that's a beautiful story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you have many stories to sell. You are also a host of a regional weekly TV show. You are a regular contributing columnist. As I said, a professional magician who tells a lot of stories. So tell us a bit about this so that, people know more about you.
Yeah. So I've been a professional magician for, almost 35 years now. I started when I was in high school. I just love card magic. I love card tricks. And then when I got into college, I realized, I can actually make money doing this, performing. And so I started off on the streets. I'd go into like Seattle, Washington. I'd be on one of those guys you see on the corner, busking, with my hat out and performing tricks. And I began creating this show. And then I started performing for corporations and other events. And it has served me well. And I still perform magic once in a while, but I have been able to, it served me really well. And now I can use it in my speaking gigs, right? So I always start off with some magic, because why do people love magic? Because it feels good, right? That moment, the moment when you can't figure it out, right? When the magician does something that blows your brain, it's this moment of delight. It's this moment of confusion. It's this moment of awe, right? We know it's a trick, but our brain can't figure it out. And in that moment, we feel really good. How did you do that, right? So magic has served me well. And I love psychology and science. And so we mix them all together and we have a wonderful feel-good experience.
Wonderful feel-good experience. Wonderful. There is much to learn from you, Fletcher, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to know more about you, learn more from you, learn about your book, and they can get the help, much more help from your book, The Practice of Feeling Good. So what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, you can go to my website, FletcherEllingson.com, or thepracticeoffeelinggood.com. And there's a link to the Practice of Feeling Good book, which is an Amazon bestseller. You can get it on Amazon. You can contact me at my website. And I have some other cool free resources at my website too. So I look forward to connecting with your listeners.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.